I tell the guys, we're thin but mighty. Anybody that's ever asked about our program over the last few years, I've been saying the same thing. And
Princeton's always been a tough football team. One thing about us is we're going to play tough. We love to hit. Hitting is like preached, and it's like the gospel in Princeton.
I don't want to have all these rules and all these things that you got to try and memorize. Just the word all in. All in.
There was a lot of, lessons being learned. But I got a group of guys who want it, and the biggest thing is sometimes they just don't know how.
It was certainly emotional, no doubt about it. It always is between us and Ocean City.
I don't like losing. The kids don't like losing. And I don't want to lose to the same team over and over and over again. We want to win a state championship.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Cal One-on-One right here on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. I'm your host, Nick Kosko, as we continue our basketball preview series. With me is new Mainland basketball head coach Dan Feld. Coach, appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk this evening. I know you guys just got out of a scrimmage as well. It's been a busy week leading up into the regular season, which does kick off, or should be tip-off next week. First, new position for you this year, taking over as the head coach of the program. I'll start with you first. What's it been like for you making this transition?
Honestly, Nick, first I just want to say thank you for having me. We really appreciate all the coverage you give to not just basketball in the area, but all the sports. It's really an awesome thing for the kids to have this. But
Absolutely.
For me, it's been great. This was a big jump for me. I was the assistant under Dan Williams for the last 12 years. And, when I was thinking about kind of jumping in and taking this, the head coach on, I felt like I had a good idea about a lot of the things that I would need to do. It's been a little eye-opening, in the first couple months of doing it. But the energy of the kids and the really support of the school as a whole have made me has made it really easy for me in these first couple weeks.
Obviously, Dan Williams, who you just mentioned, coached there for a long time, over 200 career wins to his name, South Jersey title for you guys last year. Being on his staff for over a decade, again, you got maybe a lot of firsthand experience of how he operates a program. So I'll ask you, do you want to keep maybe keep the mold the same, maybe mold in the same vision, or are there things that you're ready to add on as you transition into this new era of Mainland basketball?
Well, I consider myself incredibly lucky to have coached with Dan for 12 years. He was unbelievable. He always said, we got a bunch of head coaches on staff. And he did a really great job of always making everybody's voice heard in the program, whatever it was. He gave us a lot of responsibility. Never felt like it was like we were coaching for him, in any way. And so because of that, I'm really proud of what we've done over the last 12 years. Forget the wins, losses. I think Dan would be the first to tell you this. Yeah. Just kind of we feel like kids had a positive experience in our program, no matter what the final record or how far we went in the playoffs or anything like that. And so because of that, I'm not looking to reinvent the wheel. And I think it's one of the advantages of me staying on is a lot of carrying over, not just what we run, but just kind of the expectations of the program, our expectations of how kids in our program, once you wear that Mainland basketball jersey, how you act and whatnot. And so because of that, of course, there's there's some little things that I want to do differently, not because I think, what I can do it better than Dan was doing or anything, but just, everybody has their own personal preferences, stylistically how we might play, or a couple little, defensive sets that I want to try to put in. But no, for the most part, I want to I'd be proud to say if, 10, 12 years we ran it the same way, I'd be really happy with that, if we could keep that going.
So before I dive into the kids this year, some of the guys that have coming back, and of course, I'll give you carte blanche on who you're really excited about this year too. I have to ask, when Dan first said that he was going to step down as the head coach and that was it, coming off a South Jersey title, got to the state semifinals, of course, an epic South Jersey final against Ocean City. You guys made the Cal finals last year against Middle Township. When you got the news that he was going to be stepping down, you're essentially the next man up, and your first day on the job as the head coach, what was that like for you?
It's like I always say, you look forward to it, and then it's immediately look at our schedule, and it's like, all right, we got to get ready for EHT on the 17th, which is crazy back in, April and May to be thinking that way. But it was funny. Like Dan always said, as soon as you become the head coach, there's all these things that you don't, it's not the anxiety, but the worry of it becomes like so much heavier. And I totally got it. Like the moment it happened, I'm like losing sleep over EHT opening night, without even really knowing what our roster is going to look like. But then it's also a lot of excitement. It's excitement about, seeing what I can kind of accomplish along with our staff over these next few years with starting with this year. And it's get ready for the summer. It's thinking about, planning, our schedule and what's the fall going to look like. So like, truthfully, it was a lot of excitement right away.
So as far as your roster is concerned this year, again, a lot of seniors graduated from last year's championship team. Everyone remembers how the impact that Cohen Cook, for example, had on the program for one of the best players in Mainland history. So you look at this whole new roster. Some of these guys do have experience on the varsity level, of course, getting a little bit of time last year. Guys like Colin Cummings, John Franchini, Cole Russo, Harrison LaMonica, for instance. And then, just if anybody I'm missing, please tell me. But when you look at, guys that have had experience a little bit from last year, but are now going to be stepping up in bigger roles, how have you handled that so far going back from the summer and obviously through the preseason leading up to the season opener next week?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when you start to talk about, hey, what our strengths or our weaknesses, I think our strengths and weaknesses are kind of one and the same. John Franchini is truly the only guy coming back who you could point to say, like, yeah, he played, meaningful minutes, like in varsity games, which is, pretty crazy. Like when we look around the gym, it's just the amount of guys that are in the gym this year that weren't in last year because they were on the freshman team or they weren't on the team at all, is pretty wild. You certainly could look at that as a weakness. We aren't returning, much experience. I think probably in the Cal, we may be, in terms of varsity minutes, maybe the least experienced team. But I also see that as a positive, and as a strength of ours, because I feel like our guys are hungry. The word we've used over and over in these opening couple weeks is opportunity. And I said, even start with myself, this was an opportunity for me. But all of you guys, our juniors, our sophomores, a couple of seniors that we have, who, probably would have liked to have played more last year, even with as great a season as we had. Everybody wants to play. Well, here you go. Here's your opportunity right now to do that. So, a kid like John Franchini, like his success on the football field speaks for itself. He's just a natural leader. He's going to take over for us, kind of like running the show a little bit. And, a kid like Lucas DiBiaso, same thing. Lucas, really had a lot of success, he's only a sophomore, had a lot of success on the football field this year. And we're looking to kind of transition some of those things over. You mentioned Colin Cummings. Colin Cummings, amazing young man, tough kid, senior, has just, without even me saying anything, has taken on a leadership role in the program. Again, without us even really having that conversation, he's just naturally done that. So I think there is a hunger from our guys, and again, we're going to be incredibly inexperienced. There's going to be, we keep saying, like, work in progress. And honestly, we've traditionally, even with talent coming back, we have started slow. Part of it is a football thing. It's football. We love that our guys play football and how successful they are, but the reality is they were on the football field 8 days ago. So our window, to get ready is smaller anyway in any given year, even with the guys coming back last year. Now with a brand new crew, again, a bunch of who were on the football field just a week ago, we have to kind of keep, opportunity is the one word, patience has been the other word we've had. And everybody's got to be patient, from the coaching staff to the players, that this is going to be a long haul, that we got a lot of work to do, but we really believe in our ability to be where we want to be come February.
I'm curious how that works, because I talked to Coach Williams last year. It was a very similar situation. Now, again, they had a lot of guys back, and they already had a lot of meaningful minutes and play a lot of basketball compared to this year. Last year, win the state championship, and all of a sudden, it's a week later. We have to go focus on making a run this year in basketball. This season, these guys make the state championship again. A lot of these guys that are playing for you this year on the hardwood. And they've only had, as you mentioned, a week, maybe if that, to actually prepare for this basketball season. And now with the season a week away, how have you handled the transition this year in particular? Because it's not guys like Timmy Traveline or Cohen Cook or Stephen Ordilli coming back from football into basketball where they already had this experience. It's guys like, as you mentioned, John Franchini, who played meaningful minutes with the other guys who were kind of coming off the bench last year with a senior-heavy lineup last year. But they're coming off the football field as well. So it's like, how do you get those guys ready in 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's tough. And there's no like magic, we'll just do this. And, Colt Russo is another guy, junior, who's going to help us a lot this year that was on the football field. Dallas Rowell might be our most talented all-around kid sophomore football player. So, you so desperately want to like, wow, we got to do all this stuff in 3 days. And it's just not realistic in any way. Even the idea of conditioning, they come off football. You're like, oh, well, they were playing, they'll be in shape. It's a totally different animal. But you also can't crush them the first couple of days back because they're banged up too. So it really has been that word patience. And it's also setting realistic short-term expectations. Like you mentioned, we had a scrimmage today. We went over to Morristown, and it was a try with Cinnaminson. They're two really good teams. Cinnaminson in particular. Morristown's always one of the best teams in South Jersey. So it's like we're just not really worried right now about even the score of the scrimmage today. It was literally like minute by minute, like where was our defensive intensity, our positioning? Can we just try to literally get better? I know it's a little cliche, can you get better every day? But with us, it's really the truth this year is that, we're not worried about what it looks like so much in these opening couple weeks. What we're worried about is that every week we can look back and we're like, yeah, we're a little bit better. And truthfully, that's kind of been our calling card over the last 12 years anyway, is we've always kind of started off a little bit slow because of whether it's football, whatever it may be, maybe just our style coaching. But typically, we're really, really happy with where we're at come February. And that's going to be the reality of how we judge our progress this year.
Is this one of those years where that slow burn actually might pay off big time? And I'm not saying you guys are, one of the favorites to go win a state title and beat a North Jersey Power at Rutgers University in a few months. But is that slow burn where you maybe see do you think there's going to be a bigger jump in development with these guys when you say, okay, here's what it looks like at EHT next week, but by the time you play Ocean City towards the end of the year, whoever you play in February and you're ready for the Cal tournament, you're like, okay, this is vastly different, and these guys are just now getting their legs underneath them. We can compete with a lot of these teams.
I mean, that's the hope, right? And that's what when we talk about, hey, they don't have a lot of experience. It's a double-edged sword. Yeah, we don't have a lot of experience, but in our mind, maybe we have this big, our ceiling is a little bit high. We have a lot more room to grow. Griffin Fitzgerald is a junior for us. Played JV last year, didn't play a meaningful varsity minute. He's proud to be about like 6'5". He has, a lot of natural skill, but he's still learning the speed of the game, and honestly still kind of growing into his body too. He's kind of like the perfect example of what we want the whole team to possibly be. Is like, yeah, man, it's going to be fine now. There's going to be some struggles. There were some struggles today. But this is maybe going to look a lot different for us if we really put the time in and we stay committed. It's going to be very easy to get frustrated early. I told the guys that after the scrimmage today, this is going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. If it wasn't, it wouldn't be worth anything. And if everybody can buy in, I really believe in our guys just from an athletic ability and also just from a toughness standpoint that we can be somewhere. And again, wherever that may be come February, is going to be different. It's not that we have lower expectations, but we're also realistic in that, these guys just need more reps more than anything else. And that's going to be the only real thing to help them.
When you talk about more reps and just getting that done, I know you alluded to before how you can't really throw the kitchen sink at them in the preseason, especially over those first 3 days. I'm not going to say you guys are going to make it really simplistic in terms of how you run your offense or defense. But do you think you guys find more success in these early games by saying, hey, maybe we'll run 5 plays this half, but we can run these 5 plays and just run them this efficiently. We can maybe put up a lot of points and give teams a lot of fits. Is it something along those lines when you're talking about game planning and whatnot?
Yeah, and it's almost the other side of the ball. Like, Bobby Evans has been our longtime assistant, and him and I, both really believe in this. And Bobby said it today. He's like, forget offense for a little bit in the next couple of days. We just have to try to become good, not even great yet, good on defense. We're going to find 5 guys that can all work together to play the defense like we want to. Mm-hmm. We'll worry about and I believe in this too. Like, we'll worry about offense down the road. Yeah. We'll figure that out. Guys will grow into that. But right now, we really feel like the thing we can control is our defensive intensity, our positioning, things like that. So when you say that, just focus on these simple things right now, that's exactly it with us. Like, defense is our focus. We feel like at Mainland, that's been our calling card. It was great to have Timmy and Cohen who could really put it in the last 2 years. But the reality is over these 12 years, we feel like have been really tough defensively. we may not have the most talented like scorers in the world over the years. That's always been our focus. We want that to still be our thing. Bobby said it at the end of the scrimmage today, like Mainland plays defense. And if you want to play for Mainland, you're going to play defense, together. So we talk about simplifying. That's basically it. It's like, don't worry about the offensive side of the ball right now. If you want to get on the court, here's what you need to do. Defend, really, really defend.
I wanted to talk to you about your staff and what they mean to you, considering you're now in this new role. Of course, you saw from the other perspective where you coached under Dan Williams for 12 years, and now you're in his chair, so to speak, and you have these guys under you. Do you consider this, especially since it is your first year as the head coach, do you consider it more of a collective effort this year? How do you balance it now with your staff, especially if they are guys that you have worked with in the past for so long, and if they're not new guys on the staff?
Yeah, so I definitely I've taken so many things from Dan, but I would say the main thing I've taken him is the value of making everybody feel like they're part of it that's on the staff. And so, like Bobby Edmonds, Bobby's been our varsity assistant for 8 years now. He's truly invaluable, does an unbelievable job of scouting. The kids really buy into his message. They believe in him. He's been, an incredible help so far. Billy Wilcox was our freshman coach. He's in the building with me as a teacher. He's moved up to JV coach. He's taken on a lot of the things that I was doing from a scouting, from huddle, fundraising, all of those things. We've also been very lucky this year to have a guy, Kyle Morinelli, who was helping out at middle. He's come on as a varsity assistant. And then probably the guy that I'm most excited about, just from a kind of like what our program is trying to accomplish, is a kid, Angelo Barron, who graduated in 2017. Angelo worked his way up through our program, eventually being like a third team all press, was excellent player as a senior. And he's come back now as our freshman coach. And it's kind of what we want to do. That it's Dan has always said in the past, and I really believe the best part of coaching is reconnecting back with the guys, over the years, even once they're gone. And Angelo is a great representation of that, of what we're trying to do. And those four guys, their energy and enthusiasm so far has been awesome. They've had to talk me off the ledge a couple of times already when I'm walking out of practice and I'm ready with a little bit of hair I may have ready to pull out. But they've been really great. And truly the best thing about coaching has been that camaraderie. And, when you're starting a new thing this year, whether it was Dan, John Evans, who was an longtime assistant, they both stepped away, and they both not just mentors to me, but great friends. You worry about like, oh, is it going to be the same, coaching? But these four guys have really put me at ease that way in these opening couple weeks.
I like to hear that. So the season opener is December 17th. You guys head to EHT. So I'll ask you about that, actually, because you're opening up with a rivalry game, and I know you were saying I'm already losing sleep over EHT, and it's only April already, and I don't even know what the teams are going to look like on our side and their end. So I already talked to head coach Cameron Bell over there, and again, they went through their rebuilding phase last year as well after they made a run to the state title game a couple of years ago. How do you think you guys match up with them, and what is it like to actually open up the season against one of your arch rivals? It is EHT, it's Ocean City, but again, first game of the year, first game of your tenure, you guys are going to EHT and playing a team that was just playing for a state title a couple years ago. Yeah,
it's funny. We're like kind of like it seems like the past, like we're like a year behind them.
Yeah,
and whatnot. Cam does a great job there. They got a lot of tough kids that have been in his program for a few years. They play the right way. His son Jalen in particular is really dynamic scorer. He's a guy that instantly we're going to have to worry about. We've already started talking about what our plan is going to be with him. And honestly, over at that court is tough. It's a big court. It's much different than what we play on. I always think that's a huge advantage going over there. It's a little like Wildwood Catholic like, and it just seems longer and bigger for our guys getting up and down. But I do think there's going to be an excitement from our guys to play somebody local, whether it's, it's not quite Ocean City on our guys' radar, but it certainly is, our next door neighbors. And so I think for these guys coming out, especially the first game, they're going to be ready to go, and they're going to be enthused by the challenge in front of them.
Again, you guys open up at EHT December 17th, have another little road trip to St. Joe's Hamilton before playing Overbrook on the 21st, and it's going to be another loaded schedule for you guys. Looking forward to watching you guys. So, Coach, appreciate the time tonight. Again, good luck this season. first year for you. So it's going to be a new era of Mainland basketball. I think a lot of people are excited to see what the new Mustangs look like here in 24-25. So again, appreciate your time. And again, good luck this year. Good luck this season.
Nick, thanks so much. And like I said, we really do appreciate all the coverage. I'm looking forward to seeing you all season.
Absolutely, my man. Dan Feld, Mainland basketball head coach with me on Cal 101, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. We'll see you next time.